Forget most of what you've been told about building wealth. The 401ks, the budget apps, the advice to just work hard and save, they are often part of a system designed to keep you compliant, not to make you powerful. They're the rules for the flock, meant to produce reliable workers, not sovereign rulers of their own destiny. For 500 years, a different playbook has been hiding in plain sight. It's a ruthless guide to power, used not by the masses, but by the masters. It was written by a man who saw the world not as it ought to be, but as it truly is. He stripped away the comforting illusions of morality to reveal the cold mechanics of power. His name was Niccolò Machiavelli. Now, he never wrote a book on finance. He didn't have to. His domain was the acquisition and maintenance of absolute power, and he understood a core truth. Money isn't just an economic tool, it is a weapon, a shield, and an instrument of control. The principles he outlined for a prince to conquer a state are the very same principles that can be used to build a financial empire. This isn't another get-rich-quick fantasy. This is a look into the cold, calculated, and timeless strategies of Machiavelli, reinterpreted for the world of finance. They are the real secret to acquiring not just money, but control. Rule number 1. Be feared, not loved, with your capital. Machiavelli famously asked if it's better for a prince to be loved or feared. His conclusion was stark. It is much safer to be feared than loved. He reasoned that love is fickle, held by a bond of obligation that people, being self-interested, will break whenever it serves them. Fear, however, is maintained by a dread of punishment, or in our case, a dread of loss, which never fails. So how does this apply to your money? The average person wants their investments to be loved. They chase popular stocks everyone is talking about, pouring capital into assets that are already celebrated by the market. They follow the herd, hoping for collective approval. The Machiavellian financier does the opposite. They command fear with their capital. They aren't looking for applause, they're looking for leverage. Think of a corporate raider or an activist investor. When they take a huge stake in a company, they're not asking for the board's affection. They arrive as a force to be reckoned with. Their capital isn't a friendly suggestion, it's a threat. A threat of a hostile takeover, a proxy fight, or the forced removal of a lazy CEO. The board doesn't love them. They fear them. And because of that fear, they're forced to act, to cut costs, improve performance, and unlock value. On a personal level, this means being feared by your own worst impulses. The desire to spend frivolously, to chase fads, to deviate from your strategy, these are internal enemies. You must impose a discipline so severe that the fear of a squandered future outweighs the pleasure of a reckless purchase. Your budget isn't a friendly guideline, it's an iron law. Your investment strategy isn't a suggestion, it's a decree. You become the feared ruler of your own financial kingdom. The takeaway is this: stop seeking consensus with your capital. Stop investing for social validation. Instead, deploy your money where it commands respect and forces change, even if it's unpopular. Be the lender, not the borrower. Be the owner, not the renter. Be the investor who provides the capital that others desperately need, and set the terms. Let others love their meme stocks. You will be feared for your strategic, unshakable positions. Rule number 2. It is better to be miserly than generous. In the world of conventional financial advice, generosity is a virtue. But Machiavelli saw it as a strategic error, a path to ruin. He argued that a prince who wants to be seen as generous must be lavish. This performance quickly depletes his resources. Soon, to maintain this reputation, he's forced to burden his people with heavy taxes, which ultimately makes them hate him. A wise ruler, Machiavelli concluded, shouldn't mind being called a miser. At first, he may be disliked, but his thriftiness allows him to live within his means, fund his defenses, and protect the state without exploiting his subjects. Over time, this miserliness is seen as a greater form of generosity because it ensures stability. This is one of the most powerful financial rules. The modern billionaire understands it perfectly. While the aspiring middle class is fixated on appearing wealthy, buying luxury cars, expensive clothes, and lavish vacations, the truly wealthy are often pathologically miserly with their capital. They don't squander their resources on depreciating assets just to impress others. They know every dollar spent on a liability is a soldier stolen from their financial army. Think of Warren Buffett living in the same house he bought in 1958. His public image is one of frugality, not lavishness. This isn't about depriving himself. It's about making sure his capital is always preserved for its true purpose, compounding. The generosity of the modern consumer is a trap. Taking on debt for a party, buying a car you can't afford, or spending wildly on gifts, these are the acts of a prince squandering his treasury. You get a moment of approval, but you cripple your ability to build real wealth. Soon, you're forced to tax your future self with high-interest debt, and you grow to hate the prison you've built. Ruthlessly distinguish between an expense and an investment. An expense is a fleeting display. An investment fortifies your kingdom. It's better to be called cheap by fools today and be a king tomorrow than to be praised for your generosity on the road to financial serfdom. As Machiavelli observed, men forget the death of their fathers sooner than the loss of their inheritance. Rule number 3, crush your enemy completely. Machiavelli's advice on dealing with adversaries was chillingly direct. He wrote that men should be either caressed or crushed. If you only do them minor damage, they will get their revenge. But if you cripple them, there is nothing they can do. If you must injure someone, do it so you don't have to fear their vengeance. In the sanitized world of personal finance, we don't talk about enemies. We talk about obstacles. But this softens a brutal reality. Your greatest financial enemy is not a market crash, it's debt. And most people only inflict minor injuries on it. They make a small extra payment on their credit card. They round up their mortgage. These are minor damages. The debt survives, regroups, and continues to drain your resources through the slow grind of interest. It remains a powerful enemy, always waiting for you to stumble. When you identify a high-interest debt, a credit card balance, a personal loan, you don't wound it. You annihilate it. You gather all available resources, cut every non-essential expense with merciless ferocity, and throw every spare dollar at that debt until it is destroyed. You live on rice and beans, you sell what you don't need, you cancel every subscription. It's a short, brutal war, not a prolonged, polite skirmish. You injure it so completely that you never have to fear its vengeance again. This principle extends to other financial enemies. An inefficient, high-fee investment fund bleeding your returns? Don't just reduce your contribution, liquidate your position and move the capital to a lean, efficient vehicle. A lifestyle expense that sabotages your budget? Don't just cut back, eliminate it. The modern financial elite apply this in business. When a competitor threatens their market share, they don't just compete. They launch an all-out assault. They acquire the competitor, poach their talent, and use their massive scale to drive them out of the market entirely. They crush the threat so it can never return. The lesson is stark. Identify your single greatest financial drain. See it as an enemy at the gates. Do not negotiate with it. Do not wound it. Declare total war and do not rest until it is eradicated. That is how a prince secures his territory. That is how you secure your freedom. These are the kinds of financial truths that are rarely spoken aloud. They're uncomfortable because they reveal that the game of wealth isn't always played by the polite rules we're taught. If you're ready to continue peeling back the layers of how power and money truly work, subscribe to the Wealth Saga channel. The lessons only get deeper from here. Rule number 4. Master the art of appearance. One of Machiavelli's sharpest insights was on perception versus reality. He wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, few feel what you are." He advised that it's not necessary for a prince to have all the virtuous qualities, but it is very necessary to appear to have them. This is the hidden playbook of modern capitalism. In an age of social media, controlling the narrative is everything. The most successful entrepreneurs and corporations are masters of this art. A company might lay off thousands to boost profits, but frame it as a strategic realignment. The reality is brutal cost-cutting. The appearance is a visionary pivot. A billionaire may use aggressive tax avoidance strategies, but will simultaneously engage in high-profile philanthropy, ensuring they appear as a generous benefactor. their foundation becomes a shield, masking the ruthless efficiency of their financial operations. Mark Zuckerberg, for example, frames Meta's mission in lofty terms of connecting the world, an image of global community. This narrative of virtue runs parallel to a business model that harvests user data for profit. The appearance is a noble purpose. The reality is a machine of commerce. For you, this principle isn't about being deceitful. It's about being strategic with what you project. While you are privately practicing the miserliness of rule number 2, saving aggressively and silently accumulating assets, your public appearance should be one of competence, stability, and quiet confidence. You don't complain about being broke. You don't broadcast your struggles. You project an aura of someone who has their affairs in order. This appearance of reliability attracts opportunity. People are more willing to partner with, lend to, and hire someone who appears to be a winner. They trust what they see. So, curate your financial image. In your actions, be a ruthless accumulator of assets. In your appearance, be a calm, reliable, and trustworthy person. Never let them see you sweat. Control the narrative. Let them see what you want them to see. A prince in control, not a peasant in distress. This appearance of strength will become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Rule number 5. Adapt like the fox, strike like the lion. Virtù versus Fortuna. Machiavelli believed a ruler's success depended on two forces, Fortuna and Virtù. Fortuna, or fortune, he described as a violent river, an unpredictable force of chance and crisis that can flood the plains and destroy everything. Most people are helpless before it. But the wise prince, he argued, possesses virtù. This isn't moral virtue, it's a mix of boldness, adaptability, and ruthless decisiveness. The person of virtù doesn't wait for the flood. In quiet times, they build dams and embankments, so when the river of fortune rages, its destructive power is contained. And when opportunity arises from the chaos, they strike with the ferocity of a lion to seize it. This is the ultimate financial rule. The economy is a river of fortuna. Recessions, market crashes, and technological disruptions are the floods. The average person is reactive. They panic when the flood comes, selling their assets at the bottom and getting washed away by the current. The Machiavellian wealth builder operates with virtù. In good times, they aren't complacent. They are building their defenses. They are saving cash, diversifying income, paying down debt, and acquiring skills. They are preparing for a crisis they know is coming. And when that crisis hits, they don't see disaster. They see opportunity. While others sell in terror, the investor with virtù is buying assets at a discount, their cash reserves acting as the dam that protects them. While businesses are failing, the entrepreneur with virtù pivots, adapting to the new reality and capturing the market left behind. Think of the 2008 financial crisis. For most, it was a devastating flood. For those with virtù, who had cash and courage, it was one of the greatest wealth-building opportunities in a generation. They bought real estate and stocks from the panicked masses for pennies on the dollar. They acted like a lion while everyone else hid in fear. This is the essence of lasting wealth. It's not about predicting the future. It's about preparing for its unpredictability. It's having the foresight of the fox to see the storm coming and the courage of the lion to strike when it arrives. The path is clear. Build your financial dams now. Create an emergency fund that can withstand any flood. Develop multiple skills so your income isn't dependent on one source. And when the next crisis comes and the world is gripped by fear, you must train yourself to feel the first stirrings of opportunity. To conquer fortune, you must master both the fox and the lion. The strategist's dilemma, a warning. Now, a warning is necessary. Machiavelli's philosophy is a tool, and like any powerful tool, it can be used for creation or destruction. His name became a synonym for cunning and amorality for a reason. Adopting these principles without a moral compass is a path to becoming a tyrant in your own life. Rich, perhaps, but isolated and untrusted. The purpose of understanding this playbook isn't to become a monster. It's to understand the monsters. It's recognizing that the world of money and power often operates on a different set of rules. You must understand these ruthless tactics to defend yourself against them and to know when you're being manipulated by a prince who sees you as a pawn. True power isn't just accumulating wealth, it's sovereignty over your own life. This requires not only the strategic mind of Machiavelli but also the wisdom to know when to use his tactics and when to rise above them. The goal is to be a prince, not a predator. A strategist, not a sociopath. Use this knowledge to build your fortress, protect your family, and secure your freedom, not to exploit the weak. Because a prince who is only feared will eventually be hated, and hatred is a fire that consumes even the most fortified kingdoms. The Prince in the Mirror. The financial rules of Machiavelli aren't about spreadsheets or stock tips. They are about a fundamental shift in mindset, a transformation from a passive consumer to a calculating strategist. From a pawn to a player. It starts with seeing money as a game of power. You must learn to be feared with your capital, not loved. You must embrace miserliness as a weapon to accumulate resources. You must crush the enemies of debt and inefficiency with overwhelming force. You must master the art of appearance, controlling your own narrative. And you must possess the virtù to prepare for chaos and seize the opportunities it creates. These are the kinds of rules that have been used for centuries, by Renaissance princes conquering city-states and by modern billionaires conquering industries. They're timeless because they're based on an unflinching view of human nature. The question isn't whether these rules are good or evil. The question is whether you'll remain ignorant of them and thus a subject in someone else's kingdom, or if you will learn them and become the ruler of your own. The choice is yours. If you are ready to master the strategies of power, like this video and subscribe to Wealth Saga. Click the bell for notifications. The world is a chessboard. It's time you learned how to play.